I am 6'5". I am 6'5", but that's nice.
I'm taller than you,
No,
and I'm not 6'5".
no, you're not.
Okay. So
Naftali, you're not 6'5", Naftali?
Nope.
Both
Nope.
of you stand
I'm
up and go back
6'3".
to back. Go back to back.
Yeah, right
Okay.
You must be.
I was just at the doctor with it.
Naftali must be shrinking. Maybe he's shrinking.
See, this is
He's
what
not-
happens when you're short. You don't have to argue if you're taller than the next guy.
He's of
Corona
the age.
makes you shrink. Corona
He's of
makes
the
you
age of
shrink.
shrinking.
I have one more year before the age of shrinking happens.
Wait a second. There's an age for shrinking?
40 is when you start shrinking.
Oh, crud.
Yeah.
Everything breaks
It
at
depends,
20.
it
Don't
depends,
worry, you have
Naftali.
to grow to shrink.
My hair's going, my teeth are going, I'm getting shorter. I'm a mess.
It's good you moved out to South Bend. You'll fit right in.
That's what I'm saying. I had to speak
Now
at
you gotta
Rotary
learn how to
once.
whistle through the gap.
I had
Do
I
you
had to
have the
speak
minute?
I had to speak at a Rotary meeting once, and someone asked a question. Oh, like, what brought you out here? I said, well, I lost a few teeth, so I needed to leave New York.
They appreciate it as much as you did?
Some of them, I got some pretty nasty stares.
Judging by the pitchfork scars, which is why he's wearing longer
Well-
sleeves, I don't think
well-
you can talk about it yet.
Well, I think they thought about the Crusades and what the Catholics did to the Jews, and they're like, yeah, we'll just let them have that one, but we're not happy.
All right, we ready to roll?
Yeah.
I was born
Okay.
ready, Rabbi.
Hold on one more second over here. Okay, just the chaza from yesterday. What up tonight? Tonight we're Sadi Ches, right? Yes. Sadi, yeah, no, I was just looking at the chaza Sadi Zay. Oh, it's loud. Is it loud? Okay, let me move on out. Let me move someplace quiet. I don't know why tonight everybody's.
It's not that bad.
This might be the first time the entire shir was in agreement with you.
Okay, let's try this. All right, a little darker in this spot, but fine. Okay, so anyway, so yesterday we discussed the tefillin, right? Yesterday was the whole tefillin sugya. Difference between old tefillin and new tefillin, right? Meaning one's knotted, one's not knotted. And then we had the chazakas of, meaning if you buy tefillin from somebody who's not a mumcha, how many do you have to check? We said you have to check 3 pairs of tefillin, and the rest of the tefillin are okay, right? And then we said that when it's dangerous, if you still have time to get all the tefillin back, then you should try and wear them back. But if not, then you just stand there till the end of Shabbos. That was Amud Aleph. Amud Beis is machlokes. What's better? If you have to carry the tefillin, is it better to hand it over to do the fire brigade, as Jesse said, or is it better to do pachas from Dalet Amos? Right, and then what was the baby doing in the field? Because the baby was born in the field. And we said the chiddush is that even though the baby, it's not so fun for a baby to be handed over to 100 people, but even so, it's still better to do that, right? And then we said we're talking about all the different ways that the barrel doesn't have tchum issues. Yeah, so now that leads us to the Mishna. You had a Mishna on the bottom of Tzad Design of a base.
Can I ask you on the baby?
Yeah.
The way you're learning that it's not so fun for the baby to be handed. Could it be that the Gemara was more interested in the lack of purell involved? You're giving it from hand to hand to hand. It's not safe for the baby. So it's one suffix sakana
You're
versus
muted,
another
Rabbi.
suffix sakana.
So learn it that way. Makes you floats your boat, Gersh. You learn it that way.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm saying, what are you saying?
Learn it for that, so learn it that way. That's fine. What's the difference?
I'm saying, you're saying, what are you saying? You're saying pshat in the Gemara is what? That it's
That
not,
they
it's a
knew
rocky
then that it was
boat.
a suffix sakana. It's a hand from hand to hand. The baby,
Suffix
a brand new
sakana?
newborn baby.
Who said that?
It's not safe.
Is that what the
Especially if
pshat
their
was?
hands.
I don't know
know.
who your
Don't ask me.
friends are. I know who my friends are. It makes the new mother upset. That's how I wanted to learn pshat. It's not good
And
for
how
the
many
new
new
mother.
mothers decide that you need to Purell before you touch the baby?
So I'm saying you want to learn Purell. Learn Purell gesund hate.
Where's the Rashi? You see the
It makes a
Rashi?
difference in Pshat the Gemara. The Garin.
Where's the
Why?
Rashi? I can't find the
Are
Rashi.
you dealing with sakana or not?
What's the sakana?
To hand
He's
the
saying
baby
to
from
hand the
hand to
baby
hand.
from
It's not
hand to
clean.
hand. There's
What's
got to
the
be germ.
sakana? I'm asking, what's the sakana?
He's
A
saying
brand
that to
newborn
hand.
baby, it's pretty easy to catch an infection.
What's the odds?
What are the odds? Quite high, actually.
No, I thought the Rashi said something. Rashi doesn't say pshat. He just says it's still better. He doesn't say why it's better.
Gershon, it depends if this is the first child. If it's like the fourth or fifth, then nobody cares.
Okay, that's a good one, Akiva.
Yeah, we never had people wash their hands before they held my kids, and those that survived are doing just fine.
Before Corona, we didn't even know what Purell was.
True, that's true.
But there were like 3 people in the world that used Purell before Corona. That was it.
Yeah, so although back then having a baby was already sakana. So I can imagine, and you go into a NICU, your parents are going to just hand you the baby?
They didn't go to NICU, they had it
I
in
don't
the
know.
field.
You're having the baby in the field anyway. What's the big deal?
But it's the equivalent.
But I don't
That's
stand
how
something.
dangerous it was to have a
If
baby.
you're learning, Gershon, if you're learning that it's a sakana, so then we should tell the guy to take pachas midal ramas if it's a suffix sakana. Saying we have 2 derabbanans. You have a choice of handing it over from hand to hand or to go pachas, right? Seemingly, both of those options are fine options. They're derabbanans. What should be one better than the other? So the Gemara, the previous Gemara before that says that handing is better because pachas, you might forget and actually walk dalaramas, right? But if there's a suffix sakana involved, then we would say so. Do pachas midalaramas without handing over the baby.
Yeah, but this
No?
case is a suffix
I don't-
sakana versus suffix sakana.
I don't think handing the baby over is what's it called. I understand what Gershon's saying and about Purell and what's it called, but no one's holding the baby. You're taking the baby for 2 seconds. You're not holding the baby and coddling him and breathing
That's
on him.
worse.
It's 1 second per person. You're not germs are
You
not.
hand a
getting
newborn
germs.
baby for a
Naftali, your
second
wife
to
would let
someone else, you
anyone
crack
touch
the
that
neck.
baby the first week?
My wife would not, but if we're not talking about a normal situation, but handing over for a second is different than holding the baby.
So you have 400 people.
You're handing and
handling the baby
passing,
instead
handing
of
and
2.
passing, handing and passing.
That's
You're
somehow
not
better.
getting germ. Yeah, you're not getting germs
No,
in
even
2 seconds.
so. Forget the germs, and you're doing it so quickly. You're not going to make a problem with snapping the neck or something.
Gershi, until you bring me a rye that's a sakana, there's nothing to talk about.
Oh, the Horowitz family is not happy with this ha'ara. I can tell you that astute I am.
Gershi,
They're
have you never heard of
circling
the
the
5
wagons.
second rule? Have you never heard of the 5 second rule, Gershi? Come on.
That's only if you drop a baby on the floor.
I hear. I would learn that it's not a sakana. Otherwise, that would be a mitigating factor. I think, but I don't know. I hear. I mean, handing a baby.
Naftali, but Gershon's time is right. Kind of how you made a bris last week when the moil finish. If they picked up the baby from the sandik and you passed the baby to every person in the room. I don't even know how many people you had there. You passed the baby to every person in the room till somebody gave the baby back to your wife. What would your wife be doing to you?
Have a heart attack.
I would be in your
Making
house
sure
right
there were
now,
no
She'd
more
be in the
babies.
emergency
probably
room.
limping.
Right.
Be in the
Right.
emergency room.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
He wouldn't do. He wouldn't be. He would be living in my house. That's where he would be.
I'm surprised he didn't do it on purpose just so he could live in your house.
Tiago, I may be
Yes.
Tiago, I may be
Go
confusing
ahead.
things, but didn't we one time talk about that, like really little babies, if they like get dirty or need a bath or whatever on Shabbos, that they're always considered in sakana?
We said that Benegeya to the Gemaras with bris, that the baby should be bathed before the bris.
So why doesn't this
Right.
kid start off on a sakana?
Well, I mean, again, listen. what? Every crazy shiloh usually starts with some sort of irresponsible person, right? So what was this mother doing giving birth in the field in the first place? I mean, so I could say that.
She had a bad Hatzalah guy. He ended up in the field. It was a bad. I don't want to say anything about Hatzalah now is Shia, but she had a bad Hatzalah guy.
I don't know. So I'm saying, so, right? So it's a crazy.
But I'm saying if the kid was just born, why not just start off in sakana? Let him walk home. What are we making everyone crazy for? If the kid's in sakana, you could do like I mean, not a joke, but like Aaron said, you let a Hatzalah drive on Shabbos. You're not allowed to walk with the kid on Shabbos if it's a sakana?
No, it's just a matter of what's the better option. It's not. It was just a matter of what's the better option.
If we don't start the daf, there might be a big sakana going on. So
if we don't start, we can't finish.
There you go. Okay, let's go. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting. The beginning of the daf and the end of the daf are very interesting Gemaras. Okay, first we start with the Mishna. Yes, so hayakar b'sefer ala skufa. Right, if somebody's reading a Sefer, now Sefer, Rashi says, doesn't necessarily mean a Sefer Torah, right? Any Sefer is, they rolled it like a Megillah, right? A Sefer was like on, what do you call it? A scroll. Scroll? Yeah. Be like a scroll. So if he's reading the Sefer on the Eskufa, on the steps of the house, and then the Sefer rolls out of his hand, so then he has to roll it back to him. That's case number one. If he's reading it on top of a roof and it rolls off the roof, so if the bottom of the scroll is higher than 10 tefachim from the ground, so then you're just allowed to roll it back up. But once the bottom of the scroll gets under 10 tefachim, then there's nothing to do because you can't. It's going from one reshus to the other reshus. So what you have to do is turn it over onto the ksav. Rav Yehuda, so that's one shita. Rav Yehuda says no. Even if it's only off the ground by the width of a needle, which means it's a fraction of a airspace above the ground, you're allowed to pull it up. We'll see in the Gemara what the difference is with all these sheetas. Of Shimon Aimer, even if it's on the land itself, it's resting on the ground. There's no Issur D'Rabbanan, which all this is. These are all Issur D'Rabbanan, should not take precedence over saving Kisvei Kodesh. So saving Kisvei Kodesh is more important than maybe keeping a Issur D'Rabbanan of Shabbos. Now this was.
But again, we started with someone irresponsible.
Why is that?
Sitting on a roof reading it.
Why not? He's sitting in sun tanning on Shabbos. It's not a Sefer Torah. It's not a Sefer Torah. It's any Sefer. No, so it's an interesting thing because this actually is a Corona Shiloh, right? And which is, let's say, so we know Chas v'Shalom, a Sefer Torah falls on the ground. He's supposed to fast, whatever the sources are for that, right? It's not, by the way, it's not one of the Aseres HaDibros that you have to fast if the Sefer Torah falls on the ground. That's Ershtins, okay? But what happens, and this happened at least two times, maybe a third time during Corona, because there were a lot of backyard minyanim, right? And one edge of the Sefer Torah fell off the bima, but the other end was being held on, right? Exactly like this case. It's not pashut. It's really not pashut that you have to fast. There's a lot of poskim that say you don't have to fast then because the Sefer Torah, the whole Sefer Torah was not on the floor. Only one edge of the Sefer Torah. I don't remember what it came out with.
Does the Sefer Torah have a different halacha than like a regular book here that we're talking about here? A regular
Sefer Torah. Yeah, Sefer Torah is worse. Sefer Torah is worse. Tefillin is the word.
Mishna is not talking about that, so I'm saying it's different.
It is different, but I'm saying, it's interesting that by a Sefer Torah falling, it's different if the entire Sefer falls, Chas v'Shalom, or if only one end of it falls. The whole source of fasting actually comes from Tefillin, not from Sefer Torah, right? Tefillin is where it says that you have to fast. Then they say, well, if Tefillin you have to fast, the Kol Shekain is Sefer Torah. But anyways, that's what happened. From what I remember, they did not fast. I think that's what we came out that they should not fast.
What about telling you being on a rooftop? The article on the bottom seems to say it's a stoop. Only
That was
10
the first
seconds.
case. The second case.
The second case. Sorry.
Second case. Yeah. Okay. So Zogti Gemara. So highest scoop for hechidami. What? So the thing is like this. This stoop, is it reshus harabim? Is it reshus hayachid? What's going on here? Can you take the Sefer Torah off it? Is it a carmelis? So we're going to go through. Obviously, we're going to go through all the options, right? So highest scoop for hechidami. What's the case of this is scoop for the stoop? Elaim is scoop for reshus hayachid. Become a reshus harabim. If you say that the stoop is reshus hayachid, and it fell to a reshus harabim. And we're not making exera that you're allowed to roll it up, even though when you're rolling, what happens if he's going to drop into the reshus harabim? Then you're really going to have a problem, right? Because now you just drop the sefer into reshus harabim, and you're going to want to take it from the reshus harabim, bring it to reshus hayachid, right? Now we're on to Amud Aleph, Tzaddik Ches Amud Aleph. So then money. So who is the man dormer that says this? That doesn't care and says roll it up, even though it might fall. Money Reb Shimon he damar kol davar shum b'shum shvus and I'm b'fnei kisvei hakodesh. If something's, it's the meaning this last shita of the Mishna, Reb Shimon, who says any dirabanan is not important, is not more important than saving kisvei kodesh, right? So Gemara says if that's the case, aim sefer, but the sefer of the Mishnah says by the roof, Reb Yehuda Aimer afilu aim b'suluk min haaretz elam alay achut. Even if that scroll was off the ground by a minimum amount, you're allowed to roll it. Reb Shimon Aimer afilu by eretz atzma, even if it landed on the ground. So then what comes out is Resha for Sefer Reb Shimon, because we just said that the Resha has to be Reb Shimon. So now we're saying the first lines of the Mishnah according to Reb Shimon, then it switches to Reb Yehuda, and then back to Reb Shimon. Right? So Resha for Sefer Reb Shimon, Mitziyasa, Reb Yehuda. The middle case is Reb Yehuda. Some Reb Yehuda in. Reb Yehuda says yes. Right? Obviously different Reb Yehuda, right? In. Yeah. Resha for Sefer Reb Shimon.
One is Reb Yehuda, one is Rabbi Yehuda.
Correct. One is an Amir, one is a Tana. Right? Very good. So right, so the Resha and the Sefer is Reb Shimon, and the middle case is Reb Yehuda. Fine. That's one shot in the case. In the case of the Torah, that it's in a skufa, it's reshus hayachid, reshus harabim. Rabba Omar, hacha beskufa hanidrasas eskina. No, we're talking about a skufa that's in reshus hayachid, right? But it's people's nidras. Doros means to be stomped on or stamped on, right? So we're talking about a stoop that a lot of people has a lot of traffic. Yeah, and since it would be a bizayin to leave that whatever, again, lav dafka is the Sefer Torah, that's safer, rolled into a place where people might step on it, so therefore we're allowed to let you roll it. So Esvei Abai has the kashim of Raisa, Toich Dalet Amas, if it's within Dalet Amas, Goyle Lo Yetzlai. Meaning if it's within 4 Amas of the eskufa, right, or the roof, then you roll it to yourself. But if it goes out of the 4 Amas, then Haifchai al Haksav, you have to turn it over on the Ksav. And if we're talking about it, a skufa, a stoop that's constantly stepped on, what's the difference if it's within 4 amas, not within 4 amas? If we're saying that you're allowed to roll up the sefer because it might get stepped on, and we're eliminating Yisurei D'Rabbanan because of it, so what's the difference if it's within 4 amas or past 4 amas? Elomar Abayas, so then Abayas is a different shot. The skufa is not a reshus hayachid. The skufa is a carmelis, right? Remember what a carmelis is. A carmelis is it's not a reshus hayachid, not a reshus harabim. It's no man's land, right? And it's an issur d'Rabbanan to carry from a carmelis to reshus hayachid, and it's an issur d'Rabbanan to carry from a carmelis to reshus harabim. So we're talking about a carmelis. Reshus harabim oiveres lefaneh, and then there's a public thoroughfare going in front of it. So if it's within 4 amas, the nafil umaisila, if it fell down and he brings it, like asili de chiyav chatas, he's not going to come to a chiyav chatas because it's in the carmelis to reshus hayachid, right? So then sharolei rabbanon, the rabbanon said it's going to be okay. Chutz la'arba amas, but if it rolls out of the 4 amas, then the imaisila, if you're going to bring it, once it rolled out of the 4 amas, asili de chiyav chatas, you're going to end up with a chiyav chatas because you're going to end up carrying this sefer from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. So then lo sharol the rabbanon didn't allow it. Fine. So ihachi, if that's the case, toich dalet. Somebody saying something?
Part is carrying from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid, or carrying dalet amas and reshus harabim.
What?
What's
you're saying?
The eskufa is abiding a reshus
Well, we're
harabim.
afraid. You're right.
If
Well,
it's less than,
it's really both. But you're right. You're right. The truth is, I was going to get involved with it afterwards. But the truth is that he might end up stopping the 4 amas. That's what you're saying, right? That's what you're saying, Gershon? He's going to be walking in the reshus harabim because it's more than 4 amas away, and he's going to end up stopping, which we'll see a little later how it's going. But yeah, in a chanami. So it's yeah.
Gershon, he stopped because somebody gave him the baby.
Yeah. Listen, that's also Corona Zach, right? They told everybody to come with their own sidurim so that they don't or Purell, whatever it is. Anyways, so if that's the case, so then why don't you make a gzeira even within 4 amas? Dilma mile mishus hayachid. Maybe he went from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. Right? That's Gershon. Thank you for. I jumped the gun. Right. The first chashash is the walking 4 amas. Now the Gemara is saying, well, what do you mean? Besides the walking 4 amas, maybe you're going to end up going from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. And if you're going to say keeping the mafsek is carmelis lesamba, but there's a carmelis in between, right? And again, there's a street, then there's the no man's land, the carmelis, and then there's a sheyachid. So we know that the halacha is that if you carry from reshus harabim to a carmelis, and then from the carmelis to reshus hayachid, right? Then you're not going to be chayiv because you had a stopover. You didn't carry directly from the reshus hayachid to the reshus harabim, from the reshus harabim to reshus hayachid, right? So saying here too, you're going to walk through a carmelis. And Rava said, so that's not the case. If you carry from the beginning of 4 amas to the end of 4 amas, and you end up carrying it over a makam patur, you still chayiv, right? So therefore, we should still have the gezeira. So now we're talking about a very long stoop, right? Which, not wide, long. Meaning, so there's a long ways in between. It takes a long time to walk from the reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. It's a very, let's say his stoop is very long. It's not the hachi midka because he's going to remember. Meaning, it's so long that again, we're not afraid that he's going to purposely carry from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. We're just afraid that he's going to lose himself, right? So since there's a long space between the reshus harabim and reshus hayachid, by that time, the amount of time that it takes him to walk that amount, he is going to realize that he's about to be over an Isser and he won't do it. Right? So he's going to stop. He's going to actually come to a stop in the Carmelis, and therefore he will not have walked from the reshus harabim straight to the reshus hayachid. Or we could say, it's really talking about a skufa that's not long. Right? Stam kisvei kodesh, people look at them. Right, and then they can put them down. Meaning before he puts it down, he's going to look at it. Meaning, right, you go to a svarim store, so you see a new Sefer, you open it up. If you're really learned, you see what the Torah is. If you're not so learned, you look at the haskamas, you look at the haku, all that type of stuff, whatever it is. But there's enough going on in the Sefer. Usually, you stop, right, and you stop for a second. So therefore, he's going to end up stopping in this Carmelis, so he won't carry from reshus harabim. So then the Gemara says, no, so maybe he's going to stop and he's going to look at it in reshus harabim, and then he's going to start walking with it straight to reshus hayachid. I mean, who says when the guy's going to stop? The Gemara was just saying that we say, okay, he's going to pick it up in reshus harabim, then he's going to walk to the Carmelis, he's going to stop, he's going to look at the Sefer, then he's going to continue walking. Maybe he's going to stop in reshus harabim when he picks it up, he's going to just look at the Sefer there, and then he's going to walk straight to reshus hayachid, right?
I was joking before, but then they said over Meisters from Bavaria that in the farm stores he'd be standing on a ladder, looking at a newspaper, holding one of his sons for like 2 hours, and the balabas would have to come over to him and say,
"Yeah, well, okay, that son could have then that son certainly could have handled being handed over hand to hand from the field. Then, yeah. Anyways, very good. Yeah, so Hamani ben Azai. So we say, no, that's ben Azai. We're talking about according to ben Azai, who says that walking is like standing, right? Ben Azai is the opposite of the opinion that we always say that if you have something in your pocket and you outside an Erev on Shabbos, so we say continue walking, don't stop, right? Because you didn't put it down. Ben Azai, according to Ben Azai, it wouldn't make a difference because according to Ben Azai, every step you take is considered like you rested and started again, right? So therefore, that's what we're talking about according to Ben Azai.
So there would never be Xera.
What?
There would never be Xera according to Ben Azai anyways.
Why not?
Because even when you're walking in reshus Rabbim, you would never be over Isa Deraisa.
Even when you're walking.
Even Arba Amas, even if you're walking Arba Amas, how are you ever over in reshus Rabbim?
What do you mean? You're saying you mean
Forget about Teicher.
Even
Chutz Arba Amas, according to Ben Azai, even Chutz Arba Amas, you would never be over. Because you're being nach, you're being Iker, and you're doing Akira and Nacha Teicher Al Amas. Every single time you're walking, there is no mahal going for Amas because you keep being nach. You're Akira and Nacha.
You mean Stamazai according to Ben Azai?
There's no chutz or teich. There's no chutz or teich according to Ben Azai. There would be no issue whether it's chutz Arba Amas or teich Arba Amas. Both cases you could never be geyser on because in both cases you could never be over walking Arba Amas and reshus Rabbim according to Ben Azai.
Yeah, Nechanami.
But isn't the Gemara doesn't the Gemara make a chiluk between teich and chutz?
What do you mean by teich and chutz?
Isn't what we're trying to say the chiluk between teich and chutz? One there's going to be Xera, one there isn't. I mean, aren't we talking about a brisa that's mechalik between teich and chutz? Arba Amas?
We're just trying to figure out: is there a Xera? Is there what to make
right?
A Xera?
But the Xera would only be teich Arba Amas. No, aren't we going with that brisa? The Xera would originally. The Gemara's kasha originally was that we shouldn't make Xera teich, but the Gemara is assuming chutz Arba Amas there would be Xera, right?
Chutz la'ar, yes. Oh, you mean going back to the original kasha?
But that's all. We're all fitting it into the same brisa. But according to the Sefer that we're saying it's according to Ben Azai, chutz Arba Amas also there shouldn't be Xera out being maver Arba Amas or reshus Rabbim. Ben Azai holds you walk 1 foot, it's a new akira and anacha. So there would never be any of moving it 4 Amas and reshus Rabbim according to Ben Azai.
Right, I hear. I don't know. It's a good question. So he's saying according to Ben Azai, the whole thing shouldn't fit.
According to now that we're saying we're being mimed the brisa according to Ben Azai Shita. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're saying that it is no gezerah according to him, meaning it still fits according to him.
Why? Why would there be a difference between chutz and teich?
Because there's certainly no reason to make a gezerah according to Ben Azai. That's for sure.
Right. So then why would it be? Why
ask it in the first place?
Yeah. If he's never gonna if chutz, there should be no difference between chutz and teich according to Ben Azai Shita. You should not be guys on either one.
Right. I hear. It's a good kasha. I don't know. I'm not sure. I hear. It's too good a kasha. It must be a missing pshat. No? It's a good kasha, Akiva. Okay, so anyway, so let's see weiter. Vidilma Zoraklu Mizrak. Maybe he's just going to throw it. Right? So he's going to throw from reshus Rabbim and reshus Yachid. Tamar Rav Yochanan Maida Ben Azai Bezorik. Because he says that Ben Azai would be Maida, that when you throw it, we don't look at it like it rested in the Carmelis. No, people don't do that. There's no chashash a guy's going to throw kisvei. We don't throw svarim, so therefore we're not be afraid that this guy's going to throw his svarim. Okay, fine. And then the next case in the Mishna is hayikar b'reish ga'agag. He's reading it on the top of the roof. Umishari, is it mutter to turn it over? Because what do we say to do? If it went too far down, so then you have to turn it over. Mishari v'tanya kaisvei svarim tefillin umezuzos. Right, those that are writing svarim tefillin umezuzos. Right, we have a couple of those on the daf here. Right, we do not allow. I mean, you don't want the dust to get on there. Right, so you're not allowed to turn the parchment over face down. so you can be paris a beged on it. So here too, why are you allowing him to turn it over? So Gemara answers, Hasam efshar, hachaloi efshar. Over there, it's possible, right? You can get a clothing to cover it. But here it's not possible. So Rashi says that you don't have a beged to spread it over. Right here, meaning what? You're reading on your porch or on your roof, and the Torah falls off. Or not the Torah, the Sefer falls off. So Rashi's saying you don't have a jacket to cover it. But if you would have had a jacket to cover it, then you would have to do that in our Mishnah, not turn it over. Taisa says no, right? Taisa says you're going to have the same chashash. Here, it's not possible to cover it, because if you're going to allow the guy to cover this Sefer with clothing, then he might end up carrying the clothing outside too. So it doesn't gain you anything. It's an interesting machlokes Rashi Taisa. Right? And if you don't turn it over, then there's going to be a bigger bizayin. I mean, why is it that you can't turn over the parchment? Because why can't the Sefer turn over the parchment if he wants to take a break? Because it's a bizayin to the parchment. So the Gemara is saying now you're going to leave that parchment in the street like that on Shabbos. It's going to become a bigger bizayin, right? So I noticed Taka that the art scroll brings at the bottom here, but it's bavus the thing that based on this Gemara, the Shach says in Hilchos Sefer Torah that you're not allowed to leave a Sefer open when you leave. Do not leave a Sefer open. Based on this Gemara, you see it's a bizayin to leave a Sefer unattended while if you've stopped learning, you don't leave a Sefer open. And the Shach says that it can even cause you to forget your learning, right? And it's based on this Gemara right here. So this day you see people when they get up to go to the bathroom or whatever it is, and they put a Sefer down on top of their open Sefer, that's because they're worried about this Shach, that it's a bizayin to leave a Sefer open. Although there are those that say that that's only to leave it open as a long-term thing. To leave it open short-term, that's not a problem. Like you want to go outside for a break, a cigarette, a coffee, right, or whatever it is, you would be allowed to leave it open. Okay, fine. So then the Gemara says, right? So if it's too low, then you have to turn it over on its face. So the Gemara says, right? What do you mean? But it didn't come to rest anywhere. It didn't fall, right? You got this thing hanging out the window or hanging off the roof, right? So it's not shaykh to have any gezerah, which we're going to really see in the next Mishnah, right? So Amar Rava b'kaisel m'shufa. So now we're not talking about that. We're talking about where it did rest. It's a kaisel. It's a wall that's on an angle. The wall's on an angle, right? So therefore, the Sefer Torah, I'm sorry, not the Torah, or the Torah too, but whatever it is resting, because when the wall is on an angle, so it comes to rest at the bottom of the wall, right? So Amalei Abaye b'mayo kim tila masnisa because of Meshuva. You're saying that our Mishnah is talking about it on an angle. Ema Sefer. What about the Sefer of the Mishnah? Even if it's not lifted off the ground, even by the size of a chut, of a string, you roll it to yourself. But we say, what do you mean? But you said it's resting on the wall. First of all, it's interesting because in our Mishnah, the lashon is, it doesn't say chut, right? It says machat, right? The Gemara seems to have a different gears of our Mishnah. Now, what does it say in our Mishnah? What's the lashon in our Mishnah? Kimalay machat, right? Which in the Mishnah, they're magia, that maybe it's a chut. Either way. But what do you mean? You're saying in the end of the Mishnah that it was dangling, it wasn't mamish on the ground, but if it's resting on this wall that's on a slant, then it is resting on the ground. So Gemara says, there's something missing. This is what we have to learn. This is all talking about when it's on a kaisel that's on an angle. But if it's a wall that's straight down, it's not on an angle. If the Sefer is above 3 tvachim from the ground, then you're allowed to roll it. But if it's below 3, then you're not allowed to roll it, because we know lavud is to the ground. So it's as if it's resting on the ground, and therefore you would not be able to roll it to you, because that's like carrying from a reshus harabim into a reshus hayochid. Yeah. Yehuda, right? Rabbi Yehuda says even if it's not lifted off the ground, only the tiniest amount, you're allowed to roll it to you. Why? The Gemara says, because Rabbi Yehuda's shita is that you need it to rest on something, right? And if it's in the air, even if it's only a fraction of an inch above the ground, that's considered in the air, and he holds you're allowed to pull it up to you. So Rava had said, this was talking about the case where you throw from reshus hayachid to reshus hayachid through reshus harag, right? And Rava had said that if it's within 3 tfachim, then it's considered a hanacha. So then Leimak Tanayim Lishma, it says, so here seems to be a machlokes Tanayim, because Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care if it's lower than 3. He says you could still lift up the Sefer. So then it doesn't make sense that Rava would be paskening like the Rabbanon neged like the Rabbi Yehuda neged the Rabbanon. So Ella Kula Rabbi Yehuda. So we say no, the whole thing is Rabbi Yehuda. This is how you have to learn the Mishna. We're talking about a wall that's on an angle. If it's a wall that's not on an angle and it's straight down, even if it's less than 3 tvachim, you're allowed to pull it towards you. Even if it's not removed from the ground, only the width of a string, then you're allowed to roll it to you. My timer, because Rabbi Yehuda holds that it needs to be a hanocha and gabi mashu. So therefore, this whole end of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, and this whole shita is as long as it's not resting mamish on the ground, then you're allowed to pull it up to you. Okay, fine.
Does this machlokes? Does this machlokes have anything to do with the machlokes of Bava Kama, where the basa meikara is lean on the basa tavamana is lean on?
Why are you saying that?
I mean, it's sounding more and more like it. One holds it's as if it's up, it's where it started, and one holds it's as if it's on the ground. Meanwhile, it's both.
I'm not sure. You're saying that the Rabbi Yehuda holds that as long as it's a fraction of an inch off the ground, so it's okay, right? Yeah, and then you want to compare that to who?
Basabe Akara is lean on. It's still considered up there because he's holding it. As long as it's not enough, you can't say Basabe Tavamon. You can't say it is where it is.
It's interesting because the next Amud is going to discuss this similar inyan.
Oh.
So what? So maybe let's wait till the next Amud. Maybe talk about it's a little shtickle different. It's a little shtickle different inyan, but I don't want to get into it now because then it will get us sidetracked. But I hear maybe. Okay, we'll have to look into it tomorrow. Bez Hashem. Okay, so Zog the Mishnah. Ziz shelafnei chaloim. So if you have a ziz, what we call a ziz again, a ledge, right? That's in front of a window. So nice and love and night of Shabbos, you're allowed to put things out there and take it back, right? This is the classic. The dormitory doesn't have a fridge, right? So what do you want to do? Leave your sodas out on the ledge on Shabbos, right? So are you allowed to leave your sodas out there on Shabbos, right? So we're saying that you're allowed to. If you have yeah.
When I was growing up, everybody had outside their kitchen window. They had a basket where they kept the fruits and vegetables because refrigerators were very small. Yeah, they
didn't have soda back then.
What?
Well, at least not in the house.
They got seltzer deliveries.
What? Say that again, Aaron. What do they have?
A basket attached to the kitchen window.
I have that in my buildings. I cover it up. I can take pictures tomorrow.
My grandmother had that at her apartment forever in Washington Heights, always.
I understand. In the summer.
No, for the winter, whenever it was cool, she had things on her window outside in a box all winter. Because the refrigerator was tiny.
Wow.
I have in my buildings in the Bronx, right under the kitchen window. In the kitchen, there's a metal door, and it goes to a box. I take them out now when I do construction. I can take a picture and send it.
Okay, no, it's interesting. Okay, so that's mamash what we're talking about here. That's mamash very good. I never knew such a thing existed. Look at that.
That's why I said.
Very good, very good. So that's mamash. Did the guy that Yudi post a picture of one of these things? I don't know. All right, but so anyway, so whatever it is, we're saying that you're allowed to put things out there and not. So, but of course, that's what the Mishnah is mashma. But in the Gemara, we can see that it's not so simple. Hi ziz, right? So this ledge, the mafik lahecha, meaning what's it's going out over, right? The mafik l'reshus harabim. If it's over reshus harabim, leichash dilma nafel v'asi lasuye. You're gonna go put your fruits and vegetables out into the basket. You're gonna miss your target, and you say, "Oh no, it fell down to the reshus harabim." You're gonna run downstairs and pick up the stuff from reshus harabim and bring it back in. So that should be a chashash. Elo the mafik reshus hayachid. Then it goes over reshus hayachid, meaning you have a yard outside your window. If that's the case, pshita, of course you can put it on there. What's the problem, right? It's over reshus hayachid. Some rabbi loylam the mafik reshus harabim. No, it's going over reshus harabim. My noise and the love the katani kalim hanishporim. You can't just put whatever you want out there. You could only put broken kalim, right? Yeah, meaning you can not. I'm sorry, you don't put broken kalim. You put regular kalim that theoretically, if they would fall off this ledge, they would break.
Breakable.
Thank you. Breakable kalim. Right. So therefore, if you see it fall off, you're not going to go down to the reshus harabim and pick it up because it's pointless. It's going to be broken. Right. Initially, I thought it meant broken kalim out there, but then the truth is, broken kalim are probably muksa, so you wouldn't be able to do it anyways. Right. But so that's what it means. If they fall, they're fragile. That's what it is. Fragile things you're allowed to put out there, because if they fall, then you're not going to go down and fetch it anyways. Tani nami achi ziz shelafnei achalohin hayotz reshus harabim. Right? If you have a ziz in front of a window that goes out reshus harabim, now this case gets a little different than the Mishnah. So nice and love ka'aros because it's kitanius it's laichias. You can put out there plates and cups and other types of plates and jugs. And you're actually allowed to use the entire wall up until 10 tvachim from the ground. Let's say you have another ledge. Right? This guy must have a luxury apartment. He has two baskets for which to hang stuff out. Right? Mishtamish boy, you can use that. But the upper one, you're only allowed to use it next to your window. Right? So high ziz hechidam. Now what's this case of ziz? Idales by arba. If there isn't arba, if there's no 4 tvachim, right? Then a makam paturu. Then it's a makam patur. Vafilu keneged chalayin and namalei mishtamish. Even if it's opposite your window, you can't use it because if it's makam patur, we know you're not allowed to use it. You're not allowed to use it on a steady basis. Oh, because we said before that a makam patur, everybody can rest their things on a makam patur and reshus harabim. That was on a temporary basis, not on a long-term basis like outside your window. I'm sorry, I said and if there is 4, so then you should be able to use the entire length of it. So the lower ledge has 4 tvachim, the elyon less be'arba. The upper ledge doesn't have 4. And the window ledge, right? The ledge that's part of the window completes this other ledge to make it 4 tvachim, right? So I guess you have this basket. The basket itself is less than 4 tvachim, but if you use the ledge together with it, then it's going to be more, right? So chaloin mishtamish, chaloin mashlimas lidalit. So kineged chaloin mishtamish, opposite the window, you could use it. The chaloin who it's considered like the whole of the window, meaning it's considered an extension of the wall. The high gisa also. But if to use it on either side of the ledge, that's not directly opposite the window, then that you're not allowed to do. Should we do the next Mishnah or should we wait? I guess okay, we'll stop here because Sunday night we'll give the item a little bit of a break. And okay, anyways, the whole Gemara, it's good I wait to do the Mishnah till tomorrow. All right, see that, parrots? With all the kashas, we finished.
See, Yaakov, I don't want to traumatize everybody, but our house in East New York, we had my parents had 3 children. They owned the house. We lived in 5 rooms. We had three 5 people in 5-room apartment, and my parents had 2 rentals upstairs, 3-room apartments they rented out. People lived in 3-room apartments, and I had 2 aunts and uncles. Each one had 3 kids. They lived in 4 rooms. The girls slept in the living room. Each one of them had to have 2 boys and a daughter.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have Mexican yichus?
Right. I don't want to traumatize everybody,
Listen, that's the,
and only one basic kise,
Wow, I don't
Yeah,
know.
my dad's family was like that.
In Washington Heights also. My mother did the same thing in Washington Heights. 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
My mother lived on a pull-out couch her whole life. She slept on a pull-out couch her whole childhood.
Yeah. My parents did that in
one second.
2 kids, 1 bedroom.
Reb Aaron, did you have to walk
I'm
uphill
one of
both
8
ways
kids.
to go to school?
What?
Reb Aaron.
Did you have to walk uphill both ways?
I was both ways was uphill.
Right, in the snow barefoot?
Both ways was uphill.
Oh,
I had one shoe. No, when it snowed, I had one shoe. No.
Was it alternating days shoes or what? Like, how did it work?
No, I had one shoe. That's what I had.
Ron, my parents, I'm one of 8 kids.
Right, it didn't matter.
We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment.
There you go.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, because you guys grew up in crazy.
Yeah, until my parents bought their house. Lived in Borough Park in someone's basement with 8 kids.
Listen, Parrot, you still recording? Anyways, no,